here we have the lovely Raeann joining us. Welcome.
Hi, thanks guys. It's so good to see you again.
I know, you too.
So we met at a Spotify event back in December, January,
November.
November.
Was it that long ago? That's crazy.
Yeah. That was like the craziest thing for us. I remember, I think I may have told this to you at the event, but when you walked in, I was like, oh my gosh, because I had been following you for quite some time. There was a time like in my curvy girl life where I was like, all right, I need to get, like in 2016, I was like, I need to find some more content creators, like influencers who have the same type of body as I do that I can like try and find clothes from, because like at that time in 2016, I was like only following the Kardashians and like things like that. And I had come across your page, and so to see you walk in that event, because you know we're very new to this space, I was like, oh my gosh, how exciting.
Yeah, no, that's so crazy. And I'm like, I love that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad I got to meet you guys. That event was so much fun and like kind of crazy. I was like, I kind of had the same thing. I was like, whoa, like this is like,
This is so cool. I was like, I don't know how we got invited to the wellness one. I'm not really sure if we count as wellness, but maybe
mental wellness.
Yes, there we go. Wellness, I know.
We're all just striving to have, you know, good mental health.
Yeah,
that's
Literally.
wellness.
Literally.
You know?
we trying. We really out here trying.
Yeah.
So anyway, starting at sort of towards the beginning of your 20s, I saw that you studied magazine journalism and graphic design in college. So how did you end up doing that? What led you to picking that?
I just always loved clothing. Like in high school, everyone would make fun of me for what I would wear. Like I wore riding boots like before
It was a cool thing. Yeah.
Like, and everyone was like, "Oh, Raeann, are you going to like ride horses after school?" Like they just like made fun of me, and I just always loved it. I said I like invented Pinterest before Pinterest was a thing. Like I would sit at my computer that like was in our like home office and would put together like Word documents of like all the trends I was like loving and like where I was like.
I still do it.
Yes.
Even though Pinterest is a thing, I still do it on Word documents.
Yes.
Wait, oh my God,
I've
I
done
love
it
that.
since like high school or middle school.
Same. So I just have always loved fashion. I love being creative. And so I was like, okay, I got into my head. I was like, I want to be the creative director of a magazine.
Oh.
And yeah, Drake University is where I went. Meredith Corporation is headquartered in Des Moines, Iowa, of all places. So they have a really great magazine program, and a lot of their students went on to live in New York. Like some of my friends, she's like the creative director of Cosmopolitan. People work at People. Like it's a very good program. So that's how I ended up in Des Moines, Iowa, studying magazine journalism and graphic design. So
after graduating, where did you go from there?
So I moved back home to Colorado because I was way too scared. Something about New York always terrified me.
Really?
Like I was so scared of moving to New York. I was just like, I can't. Like, and I moved back to Colorado, and I had interned at Better Homes and Gardens magazine when I was in college, and I got to work with a lot of bloggers at the time, and I was like, this is so cool. They're like entrepreneurs, they get to be creative. Like one of them was telling me, she was like, yeah, you know, she was a DIY blogger, and she was like, yeah, I make like 3 times what my husband makes, who's a pharmacist, and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, there's something here.
Whoa.
And yeah, so I moved back home and bought this course on like how to grow on Instagram and started posting on Instagram and doing my blog. And I got a job at a branding agency at the time and was doing social media and graphic design work for this branding agency while also blogging. Like on my lunch break, I would like go take outfit photos and come back in a different outfit, and all my coworkers would be like, what's going on?
I love that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I do right now at work. I am a social media intern at a marketing agency, and like when I am not doing work for them, I'm like working on stuff for us, and people are like, what are you doing? I'm like, podcasts, like, you know, got to make your own dreams happen too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I feel like everyone now is like we're so passionate about many things.
Yeah.
Like if you do have a full-time job, I feel like it's kind of rare if you don't have something outside of it. And if you don't, that's totally fine. But I feel like so many people are like doing so many things.
I feel like we also have to today, because like so many things that used to be like full-time long careers have now become like, the gig economy is such a thing. Like everyone kind of has to have side hustles because that's the only way to like fucking make it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's definitely nice having like multiple like streams of income. Like even like since we graduated, I've like done a bunch of little different things that like give you money, and like, you know, you got to figure it out somehow, some way.
Yeah, and you could like see what you like. Like you just have to, I'm like, if you have something that you're slightly interested in, just like try it and see what happens. And like who knows where it's going to lead.
Right.
I certainly never thought that this would be where we ended up with this podcast.
No,
Like
100% not. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking when we started it. I just wanted something else, like you said, something else that like you can put your energy into, because I know like what we were doing like in college with music theater, it was just so all time consuming, and we didn't have time to do anything else. And honestly, up until that point in my life, I hadn't asked myself if I liked anything else or thought about anything else. So to get to post-grad now, like try a bunch of different things, it's nice to figure out that I am skilled in other areas besides like one thing.
You're like,
you know?
wait, I can do other things.
Yeah, literally.
So from that blog, where did you go and how did you end up sort of moving into like fully being like content creator?
So I had a long-term boyfriend at the time, and I was like, okay, like I want to move to LA or New York, and he was the tennis coach, and so he started applying for jobs in those places, and he ended up getting a job at Pepperdine, and so we moved to LA. And at the time, I was actually more interested in like curve modeling, and so I was like, okay, I want to be a full-time like curve model, and was doing content creation on the side. So I quit my job in Colorado, moved to California without a job.
Wow.
And I was working at I worked at a cycling studio. I was cleaning a yoga studio. I was doing like freelance graphic design and like social media management for people. I was doing my own social media, and then like driving to castings and like trying to make it as a model, and like spending any money I had on like doing a test shoot and like all this stuff. So did that for a couple years. And then I'm kind of woo-woo, and it's so funny how like the universe works. Like my boyfriend broke up with me, and literally like it was like a flip of a switch. Like just brand deals, like people started reaching out to me. I got signed to my first like agency.
Wow.
And like I went from making like no money in content creation and not having anything to like a complete 180.
Wow.
And so that stuff just started to take off because I was just creating organically. And that was in like 2019 that I started full-time doing that. And it was because I was just doing it. I mean, I honestly started posting and doing that stuff in college. So it took like 5 years or so before I moved full-time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what led you to sort of wanting to lead more into like the body activism, and eventually led to y'all creating the Confident Collective?
Anyway, it is kind of a tongue twister.
Yeah.
TCC, Confident Collective. I know, it is a tongue twister. We should have thought about that when we named it. But
I mean,
naming
we put a full swear in our name.
I know.
No, naming things is so hard. That's another
I know.
conversation.
It's so funny. My Nana's in town right now, and whenever we talk about the podcast, she refuses. She's like, completely clueless. Or like, what's the name of your podcast? And we always have to be like, completely swear word.
Oh my God, she's like,
she will not say it. I'm like, oh girl, just call it CFC.
Yeah. Oh, grandma.
That's what my niece and my nephew do. They call it CFC, and they're like, because I know what the F is, and I'm like, I know you do.
You're like, it's
okay.
No, I won't encourage kids to swear. But wait, what did you ask me? How did I get into the body positive?
Yes.
Or like talking about. So I mean, similar like Sarah, when you were saying you didn't have anyone, you weren't following anyone.
Yeah.
I love fashion, and like I followed all of the OG bloggers, like Song of Style, Sincerely Jules, The Blonde Salad, like all of these girls. And I was like, okay, but what would that look like on me? Because I felt like I looked so different. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to start posting what I like to wear and where I shop, and hopefully inspire other girls to do the same thing. Because back then too, even more, like people would always say like, I can never wear that because of my size, or oh, that's like not flattering. Like there was very like, I just remember like, especially growing up, there's very like kind of strict rules around fashion and stuff, especially when it came to like dressing for your body type and dressing for this, and it was just like so strange. So I decided to just start posting about it. And I wasn't like someone who's like, oh, it just happened. Like I looked up to these girls, and I was like, okay, I want to do that and represent girls who don't look like me, because there wasn't that many plus size or curve girls who were creating content. So I kind of just weave that in to help women find stuff that looks good, because it could look like you see it on the website and you're like, oh my God, that looks so good on me, and then you're like, this looks like garbage. To find things to inspire girls to wear things that maybe they thought they couldn't, and just so they can see their body type, like wearing cool shit. And then we launched the Confident Collective because with my business partner Christina, we would get so many messages like, and some might say this as like a backhanded compliment, but they were like, I don't understand how you're so confident. How do I get your confidence? Like, and I don't see it as a backhanded compliment. Like, I think so many women out there are struggling and and literally do not know where to get their confidence. And I'm like, where to find confidence, where to switch from feeling just like shit about yourself. And I was like, okay, I can't answer this like in a DM.
Yeah.
I can't always answer this like in a video or like a Instagram post. So we knew we wanted to create something that went deeper, and we really wanted to focus on community. And so we launched the Confident Collective as a community to inspire women to build confidence. And we first started doing a lot of weekly workout classes. So, because that was one area for us that like movement is so important to me. And it doesn't need to be about losing weight. It doesn't need to be like this intense thing. Like movement, I just think is really important in like your body and your mind. But going to a gym or workout class, if you haven't, is fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like when I joined a new gym here a couple months ago, I was literally so scared. Like I was like, oh my God, people are going to think I'm a loser. Like I don't know what I'm doing. Like it's scary. So we would host weekly workout classes for women to come and meet other people and just try a new gym. We have a weekly podcast. We're on a little break, but we're coming back next month, and we're kicking things back off with a summer pool party.
I saw that is such a great idea.
Wait, I wish you guys, if you're gonna be in LA, you
I know.
absolutely
I
have to
haven't
come.
even been to California in years.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I've been there,
Okay,
but like not
okay.
since I was like little.
Okay, well, you guys have it. There is an open invitation.
Thank you.
But it's like there's so much pressure to like, I see sometimes on TikTok like summer's 3 months away.
Ugh.
Here's what we're gonna do, and I'm like, fuck that.
I
like,
try so hard to get it off my feed.
Me too.
But like it's been incessant. Recently.
Yeah, especially recently, I think like with like the weight loss drugs being talked about a lot more and people using them a lot more and people just talking about it more in general. My feed, I feel like more than ever has been like more like summer body, and it's just like it can be hard to hear. It's like sometimes it's okay, and then some other days like it's more sensitive sort of a thing. But I think the workout classes are such a great idea, especially like in a city. You know, I think a lot of people in like
hard to make friends.
Yeah, with
my
the
God,
friends.
yeah, like making friends, and also just like we just want like people to come and have fun, make friends, hang out with us, and feel like good in their body and be surrounded by other people who are like embracing their body to kick off summer, and be like, you don't need to fucking change your whole body or go on this crazy like 12-week program to like have a good summer.
Right.
Like, you can have a good summer exactly how you are. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So sort of touching on what you referenced, you guys have been taking a little bit of a break from the podcast, and I wanted to ask you, in that episode, you sort of talk about feeling like you needed a break and about how you feel like a lot of your fulfillment and worth, it's been difficult to sort of struggle to separate that from like the content you put out and how it's been received. And I know like, I think putting out content, that's very much a thing, but also in all jobs, and particularly within like the very capitalist society that we live in, like our output and our productivity is often where a lot of our self-worth lies. And I want to ask how you sort of deal with separating out yourself from your output.
I mean, honestly, I'm still trying to figure out. It's so hard. Like, I feel like no matter what job you're in or no matter what career path you're in, so much of our value and if we think we're successful or not is how we're performing in our job.
Yeah.
And the feedback in our job or whatever that is. And like, it is just really exhausting, and you want to do something to bring you fulfillment and also, yes, like live. You have to make money to live. But like, I'm still working on it to I don't want to feed into that like hustle culture, into that. Like, I want to live a life that I really love and not and do something that I love and work, but not like have it all consuming and be like, so much of my validation comes from like, oh, if how many comments or something. And I know that sounds like it's silly, but when it is your job, like I was just like, okay, I gotta take a break. Like I gotta like step back. And also sometimes I was like, I'm doing so much, I'm exhausted. I feel like what I'm putting out, I'm not proud of. And I feel like when you get to that point, you might think it's like failure to take a break or weakness to take a break, but I think honestly sometimes that's like stronger. It's just like the society we live in that says like go, like fucking hustle all the time. But like taking a break, like I see that as a huge win, and like should be, that's not a failure. That's not like, you shouldn't feel bad about it at all.
Literally, I am pro break. I am like so pro break because I did that like with theater, you know, because it was kind of similarly like I was just so negative towards it, and I was showing up and not doing work that I was happy with. I wasn't even enjoying the work. And so I was like, why am I going to continue like to force myself to do something just because it's what I've been doing for forever? Like, why not just take a step back and like, you know, maybe introduce it in a new way later on, or maybe you never go back to it. But I think it's just like you said, there's so much pressure to like grind, keep going, that like honestly, I feel like if you just take the break and give yourself the moment to step back, like you can just like re-engage it, whether that's like short form. Like literally last week I was so busy and I was talking about this with my therapist. I was like, yeah, and then I realized I just like needed a break. Like I needed a couple hours to just like get away from this, and then I came back to it and I was like, ideas are forming and happening, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, Jay Shetty actually has a really good podcast episode on burnout. Ooh. And I listened to that and I was like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I need to take a break.
I need a break.
I always really struggled when we were on like vacations or breaks from school, because I went to an arts high school where I had academics 8 to 2, arts 2 to 6:15, and then if you were in a show, it was 6:45 to, depending on how much the director followed the rules, either like 10, could be 11 if it was during tech or the director really didn't give a fuck.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so it was very intense. And then during college, like
just
performing
no
arts,
boundaries.
Yeah, and performing arts majors, like even the amount that it took for us to go into overload, we were allowed to take more classes even. And so like I know I packed my schedule in so hard so that I never had a break, to the point in which whenever I had breaks, I didn't know how to like have any structure, keep it together. I would just completely fall apart. My mom was like, how are you so hardworking at school and you absolutely fall apart anytime you have a break? And it's because I didn't know how to take a break. Yeah. I didn't know how to stop or slow down at all. I only had 2 modes on and off.
Yeah, that's so true. We don't know how to take breaks. That's such a good point. Like no one teaches us that.
I actually saw this well, whenever I say I read this article, I probably saw it
on TikTok. Yeah.
So I read this article, and it was saying how many Americans are moving abroad, and like I thought it was so interesting because, especially like in Europe, people just don't feed into like the hustle culture as much, and they really just like. I mean, people just like take like 3-hour lunches and like it's just it is different, and I'm like, oh.
Well, it's also frustrating of like they've done studies and they show like a 4-day work week, in most cases people are just as productive. Like people spend most of the workday not accomplishing work. Like it's unnecessary.
Yeah. It's interesting because like I'm sort of like in a corporate situation with my internship, but it's only a couple times a week, and it's interesting to like see the dynamic of the environment of the like hustle sort of mindset, and then like let's like work until like my day is from 10 to 7, and I'm like, once 5 p.m. hits, like it should be over with. Like it should be done. Like I cannot believe I'm literally like, especially in the winter, like I was working until 7, and we all know it gets like so dark in New York.
That sounds depressing.
At 4, and so I literally it was so freaking hard, and I was just like, how am I gonna keep doing this? Because like I can't do this sort of like schedule and environment. So it's been tough, but we're figuring it out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even work a corporate job, but I put that pressure on myself.
Yeah,
so it's like
I
so
bet.
ingrained into our heads.
It's so a piece of our society.
Yeah.
So you turned 30 in August, I believe, right?
I do.
Oh my gosh.
Very, very, very early happy birthday.
Thank you so much. You guys are the first people to wish me happy birthday, and as a Leo, I really appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Oh, are you right before it becomes Virgo?
I actually don't know when the cutoff is, but I'm very much a Leo.
I know that it must be around then. So I'm September 23rd, and I'm the start of Libra.
Oh, okay. So yeah, it must be.
Gotta be close after you.
Yeah.
So I was listening to an episode a little while back of your podcast, and you're talking about the things you want to get done before you're 30, which I thought they were very cool and fun. But I was wondering if there's anything that you've done so far that you're really glad that you did in your 20s.
Ooh. I mean, I think I'm really glad that I like took a risk and didn't necessarily do a traditional work path. I feel like when you're young, like that's like, I mean, I don't think there's any wrong time to do it, but I'm glad I did that. I'm glad that I got dumped. Like, I think that was really great for me. Not at the time. I was a disaster. And it's taken me like years to get over it. I'm sure people are like, oh my God, fucking shut up. But I'm glad that I traveled alone. I think that's one thing that like I think every woman in her 20s should do, like solo travel. It is the most scary thing, but also not like dangerous, like but just like nerve-wracking. Like I was like, why am I doing this? Like this is scary. I don't want to go do this. Like, what am I going to do by myself? And I just think it gets you so out of your comfort zone. You learn so much about yourself. Like, I think every woman in her 20s should solo travel. Take a solo trip. It is so good for you. I think those are like the main things that I can think of off the top of my head right now. But
on the flip side, is there anything you regret? Or wish you had done differently?
I don't think so. I mean, definitely there are decisions where I'm like, oh, fucking shouldn't have done that. But like a lot of times they have a result that you're like, okay, what am I going to do now? I feel like I kind of am a freak in how much I trust the universe, that like no matter what, like recently I've kind of gone through some hard shit that's really changing my life, that I'm gonna have to deal with forever. And I'm like, fuck. But I just know that like, I'm like kind of have this weird piece about it that I just know that the universe is, and Gabby Bernstein, who actually was at that dinner with us at Spotify, is one of the people I follow. And she, in her book, she's like, the universe is always conspiring to bring you the most amount of good. So I'm like, okay, this shitty thing happened and I'm dealing with this. But I just have this weird piece that like, is going to work out how it's supposed to work out, and the universe is working in and doing its thing. So I'm kind of like, no matter when things go wrong, yeah, it can suck, but I'm like, overall, I know it's going to make sense and it's going to be fine.
I have a relatively similar mindset, slightly different frame of whenever people ask me if I have regrets, I always say I have no regrets because I really like where I am, and like I very much think the butterfly effect is a thing. Small decisions can have very big outputs, and I wouldn't risk changing a single thing in my past and risk where I am today.
Yeah. Exactly.
I would say in these past few months I've maybe had moments where that wavered, but for the most part, that is my mindset.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, there have been a few where I'm like, really? But
I'm like, did we make some wrong choices?
But you know what? Maybe in a couple
more months, I'm gonna be back.
Yeah, in time we'll be like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah, because I like there was a period of time where I was like super down, like in college, and now I look back at that time, like being where I'm at, and I'm like, all right, that was really fucking tough. Like it was really hard to feel that and to go through that, but like I wouldn't give that up for where I am now, and it's taught me so much about who I am today and like how I get to like function in this world as a better human.
Yeah.
But it's hard in the moment. It's so hard to like get yourself to really believe that the universe is on your side and will give you that relief eventually. Yeah.
Sometimes you got to go through some shit, but
period.
Yeah. Langas has been hearing about it for about like, I don't know, I'd say probably at this point the last 3 months. Most episodes I've been like, so as you know, I'm not doing great.
Oh no.
We're doing better now.
Okay, good. We love to hear
We're on the up.
Good.
So sort of going back on what we talked about a little bit earlier, like body activism and whatnot, where do you think the sort of body positive, body neutral movement, where do you see it heading next?
That's a good question. I feel like there have been times where I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just want to post this and not make it about my body. And I think I would love for it to become a time where it doesn't have to be about our body, and it is, we see a level of diversity where it's just like not a thing.
Yeah.
Like my friend Jennifer actually just did, she's a Sports Illustrated rookie, and she just did an article about how like she's sick of the term like curve model. Like, I'm a model. Like, let's just, we don't need to distinguish with that term. And so I hope to get to a point where it is like, we don't need to make it such a thing. but I don't think we're there yet for sure. Not even like we've got a long way to go. And I just hope to continue to see body diversity and brands working with different types of people and different body types. And I think it'll be interesting because definitely like last, Fashion Week, there was definitely a lot of discourse around the lack of diversity and definitely like just in the conversations, we've been seeing on, like we said, on our TikTok feeds of kind of this swing back to like thin and celebrating that. And like, I think that pressure has always been there, but I definitely think there's a lot more chatter around it right now.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see where things go. But I've always just taken the stance, like, I'm just going to live by example and show women that you can do what you want, date who you want, go after whatever you want, and your size doesn't have to be a factor in that.
Yeah, I know. I think it's so great with all of the influencers that show body diversity, because like you were saying earlier, there were times in my life as a curvy girl where I literally like swore off certain clothes because I'd never seen somebody wear it that looked like me, and so I thought it was like off like limits to me. But it's so nice to get to look at different people's bodies who look similar to mine, at least, and be like, oh wait, like I can wear this, like they wore this, let me try it on myself. And it just like kind of normalizes it in general to like go out in public, especially in New York where there are different people all over the place, and see people who are also like curvy girls wearing bodysuits or crop tops and all these things that shouldn't be like unnormal, but because of like the way that, I grew up and you grew up and said, like what you said, like it was abnormal or just like not like the rule around it was like you couldn't do it, which is so weird.
Did any of y'all watch What Not to Wear growing up? Because
I
remember like anytime any girl was at all curvy, it's like you can't wear stripes, you can't do this, you can't do that.
Literally
you need to wear everything to try and like
I forgot about that show. It's with like that guy and girl.
Stacey
London,
and
I loved that show.
Oh, I loved that show.
But I now reflect back and I'm like,
but that's like people just said that, and like even like on America's Next Top Model, like that show. If you go back and watch it,
I'm glad.
How did that show air?
To watch that? Yeah.
Oh my god, it's just crazy. And like for me, even like with fashion in my body, like I feel good in that. Like there isn't anything where I'm like, oh, I wouldn't wear that. Like I don't really. I've come to a good place with that. But like for me, it's the dating side of things. Like whenever I see like a couple that's like a curvy woman who's like in love and is being like really like seen as beautiful and celebrated by a partner, especially men, I was like, oh my god, I have to save that, because I'm like, wow, that's like showing me that exists. And that's why I think representation is like important to show
so
people that it's like, because I honestly like for a long time I was like, oh, I just don't think like someone would be interested in me,
I feel that. I feel that
can be in like so many different areas of your life. That's just an example that I've had to work on. So
yeah, especially in New York, there was like a time when I started like going to bars with friends and stuff like that, and I still sometimes struggle with it. And I'm like, how are people looking in this bar looking at me because of my body, and like do I belong here? Or like the times I've been single, like will I be able to find somebody that doesn't just pass me by to go to all my friends, sort of a thing.
Oh yeah.
So I definitely relate to that.
I mean, I remember even as early back as middle school, like I hit puberty like relatively young. Like I hit this height when I was in like 5th grade. Like I used to have terrible stretch marks on my back from growing too fast, and I actually remember in middle school girls being like, were you pregnant? And I was like, on my back, you dumbasses. No.
Not on my back.
Yeah, I'm like, you dumb bitches, that's not how this works. I didn't say that to them. I think I pretty awkwardly went like, no, I just grew too fast. I was a real awkward child. But I remember even like in middle school, like I would use myself to like make my friends feel better. Like I had this one friend who was about the same height as me, and like very, very thin, but anytime she would like feel insecure or make comments about her body, I would go and be like, well, I weigh more than you, and like you don't think I'm hideous. And like that is kind of what I would use, and I'm like, oh sweetie, that didn't help anyone. I don't remember where I was going with that, but
oh my god.
And I just look back and I'm like, oh, downvote. Oh, what I was trying to get at, like even with like not in bars, of like I around my family, of like my family will all be talking about how they need to like lose weight, or like my mom, who I think is one of the most like beautiful women I've ever seen, and like all of my friends when they see her are like, wow, your mom's stupid beautiful. I've had teachers say that to me, like comment on how beautiful my mom is. I call her a tall Amazonian goddess, and I call my dad a little burnt potato.
Wait, is your mom taller than your dad?
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
My mom's 6 feet tall. My dad claimed he was 6 feet tall when they first started dating.
Of course.
He's maybe 5'10". No, he didn't shrink. He was always, he has shrunk, but he was never 6 feet tall.
Oh my God. That's so funny. That's what my dad, so my dad in high school, like I'm the shortest in my 3 sisters. So I'm 5'11", my younger sister is 6'1", and my older sister is 6 feet tall. And my dad, like I was just like upset about a boy or something in high school and yada yada. He's like, you know, Raeann, you're just an Amazon woman. You're an Amazon. And I'm like, at the time, I was like, oh my God, you know, 15. I was like, that's not what I fucking want to hear.
Yeah,
I don't want to be an Amazon woman. I want to be the tiny, cute girl that all the guys like. And it's like, oh my God.
My license still says 5'7" because I really wanted to be 5'7".
Right. But now I literally see it as such a powerful thing. Like, I love being tall. I love being this, like, me and my friends call ourselves like Amazonian women. Like I love that so much. And I think it's like you just have to embrace it and you'll slowly start to like love it about yourself. So I love that. I need to see your mom. I need to meet your mom.
I'll show you a photo. She's
done.
Stupid beautiful.
Yeah.
But no, like
she'll
talk about herself in a very mean way, and I've kind of reached the point where like I very much try and interrupt it, of like, we were trying clothes, she was like, this doesn't look good, and I was like, Mom, you're beautiful, like I'm stopping you because like you're being so unkind to yourself. How would you feel if I spoke about myself in that way? Like, you are so beautiful, and I don't like hearing you be mean to yourself. And I look back then at my grandmother, who has passed recently, and like she didn't eat. So, you know, progress has been made, but it makes me sad to see her like be so cruel to herself, because I think she's so beautiful.
It's crazy how like just each generation, I do think like slowly is going to get better. Because like what our moms had to go through, like, oh my gosh, crazy. And like you guys are younger than me, like you're already having better, I think, conversations and stuff than like I had. And like I think back to, I mean, like, yeah, we were talking about what not to wear and like these commercials we would see on TV. Oh, yeah. I'm like, oh my God, it's insane.
Did either of you have a Wii Fit?
Yes.
No, my neighbors did.
Never forget the Wii Fit, and like I would step on the thing, and it would literally like make me into this like obese person. I will never forget. Oh my God,
we like
memories.
You're like game
trigger, literally trauma.
No, literally, I remember that thing. I mean, my parents used to have a scale that literally went down to like the point decimal, and I used to like record my weight in it like several times a day.
Wait, did either of you ever do Weight Watchers with your mom?
No,
I did Weight Watchers on my own.
Yeah, I did Weight Watchers with my mom. Yeah. So that was when I was like probably in high school.
Yeah, I was in high school when I did Weight Watchers as well. It's so, I always say this, I've said this before on this podcast, it's so interesting to like look back at how I thought about myself as like a middle school girl and a high school girl, and to think of the ways that I thought about my body. And like transparently I weighed less when I was younger, but like the way that I thought about myself was so much worse. Like I just cannot believe it.
It's been a shocker for me to find out like people thought I was attractive, and I might have actually been popular in high school. And I found that out way after the fact.
You're like, wait, what?
I may have been a popular girl.
After graduating, I don't think I was a popular girl, but I think I was more popular than I gave myself credit for. Like, I found out after graduating, all these people I had crushes on had crushes on me, and just no one told me, and I thought I was so unattractive. Yeah, but I found out too fucking late.
No, but now you can take that energy and be like, take that energy out into your life now, you know?
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because I feel like the nights that I do like exude the confidence, I don't like know whether your aura changes, like your energy changes, like people feel it from you.
Oh, people feel it.
Yeah.
I feel like, honestly, and I always like, if someone asks me like they're really struggling, I'm like, this is so fucking cliche, but like fake it till you make it. If you go out, like I'm like, okay, next time you go out on a night out, I want you to just act like you are the hottest piece of ass in that place. Like, obviously, don't be a bitch. Don't be conceited.
But maybe just a little bit of a bitch.
Like, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But just, like, act like you... And I promise you, like, you'll see a difference, because confidence is contagious, and the way you hold yourself and the way you present yourself, like even just like walking up to the bar and ordering a drink, like don't be on your phone, don't be fidgeting, like move with intention, like it will be like you will see a difference. People will see you differently.
That's so interesting.
Adjusting like the little jokes that we make about ourselves, because like our brain doesn't really process sarcasm when it hears us say something. Our brain just understands it as fact. So if we like joke over and over again, even if we're being sarcastic, I'm the ugliest bitch around, that is what your brain believes to be true.
Yeah.
But if you joke like I'm the hottest bitch that's ever lived, your brain's exactly gonna accept that as fact. Like I literally posted on my Instagram story today. Again, I've not been doing great these last few months, but I literally posted and I captioned it, I'm looking hot. Just thought I would let you all know.
I love it. I love it so much.
That's good energy.
Yes. Thank you.
Put it out into the world.
And do I always believe that? But no, do I joke with people being like, yeah, I'm the hottest person to ever live and everyone should worship me? And you know, every time I say it, I believe it a little bit more.
There you go.
Exactly.
There you go.
Jumping back into questions, let me find out where we were.
The small tangent we took.
Oh, I love
No,
it.
I only speak in tangents.
I love it.
That's my only form of communication. So you recently moved to New York.
I did.
Why did you decide to move here?
Kind of a few reasons.
Yes.
Number one, I had always wanted to live in New York, but it really scared me. I don't know why. I found the city so intimidating.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what the fuck? Like I can't move there. And I also got very into astrogeography, which we could do a whole podcast episode on.
I heard you talk about this a little bit, and I remember trying to look it up because I was like, should I move?
No, honestly, so I've gotten so many people in my life into it. My sister has just moved to Seattle because of her
Really?
so she's moving there for the summer because she's been going through a fucking shitstorm for the last year, like called off an engagement, like was in a really toxic relationship. She was living with my grandma. My grandma passed away, and now she's like, what the fuck? And I really think astrogeography is a great place to look when you need some redirection and can bring out some different energy.
Yeah.
So in 2021, I booked a trip to New York because I had never been to New York besides like on my 8th grade field trip, which I don't even count. So I just tell people I had never been to New York.
Yeah.
So I come here and it was just like, I've traveled quite a bit and like I have never felt the way I did when I was here. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. And my friends and I had talked before about how we have this theory that everyone has their hottest city where like you go somewhere and like people are like, who the fuck is that? Like, she is hot. Like, we're your best self. So I posted a TikTok about it, and I was like, I think I found my city. And someone commented and was like, yeah, haven't you heard of astrogeography? And I was like, no. Like, that, what are you talking about? So then I did a deep dive into it, and now, like, I plan my trips around it. I'm uprooted my entire life to move to New York because energetically for me, New York and, like, the East Coast in general is a very positive energy space for me where the West Coast, LA, where I was living, it's a much more challenging energy. It was my Pluto line, so it was very it's death, it's transformation, and here's my Jupiter line. Anyway, I can send you guys the girl that you should follow and get a reading from. So fascinating. And also, I just had always wanted to live in New York. I wanted to do it before I was 30, so I moved here, and my friends in LA were all getting married and having kids, and I was like, I'm single, and like I just needed to shake things up. And so I moved here.
Amazing.
That's amazing. I know. I can't wait to move into the city.
I'm very partial to the East Coast, but it's because I'm an East Coast baby.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, I love like I was in California for work a couple weeks ago, and I was like, I rented a Jeep, and I was like driving around, and I was like, oh, like there are parts of it that I definitely miss. Like I think that both have so many positives, but I think the East Coast is more gonna be my hub, you know?
Yeah. I grew up here. I actually still live with my parents because rent's expensive. And so I'm like 45 minutes to an hour outside of the city. And, you know, we do all of our work here. I've been commuting in since my mom, it's so crazy to think about it now, but I got like my first like big theater gig when I was like in 8th grade, 13 years old. She like helped me get there twice, like by train and everything. And then I did it by myself. Like I've been coming to the city by myself since I was like a baby.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, and in high school it was so funny. All like my friends at the time, like their mothers would only let them go if I was going.
Oh, I was scared to take the train when I first moved here like 3 months ago. I was like,
mean,
wait, what?
It has changed a bit. Like even I'm like a lot more afraid of the subway than back in the day. Like before, like but lately I've been nervous because of all like the stories of like crime and everything.
But you could navigate through a city.
yeah.
You were like, that's impressive.
Yes, yeah. Oh
That's
my gosh.
impressive.
And people are so funny when they ask like advice when they were moving here. I was like, just put on that bitch face. Act like you know where you're going, and never like when somebody like tries to pull you or ask you, keep going. Like
I
just
grew up
go.
visiting here a lot, and even if I took a wrong turn, I would literally like go. I would never turn around and admit I was wrong. I would fully like go around the block, or I would do an acting beat and be like, "Ah, I forgot something. Not the acting beat.
So why is it so embarrassing to like turn around? Like,
No,
I
like,
do
oh,
it.
What a
I
loser.
won't. I feel bad about this actually. Multiple times in both Boston and New York, I had people, 'cause apparently I looked like I knew what I was doing. People would ask me how to get somewhere, and I never wanted to admit it. I didn't know where I was, and I didn't know how to get to where they're going. I would give them directions, and I'm sure most of the time I gave them bad
Oh.
directions.
You're just sending
But,
them
that's
the
on you.
complete
You have the internet. Use your phone.
Oh,
Don't
my
ask
God.
me, a random 14-year-old. I'm not going to be helpful.
Yeah, that's on them.
That's on you.
That's on
You're
them.
an adult. Figure it out.
That's kind of iconic.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I pissed a lot of people off because I would give them fully wrong directions with full confidence.
That's so
You know, I was a little asshole.
Oh my God.
I don't know if you've been dating much since you got here. So, hey, how has that been going?
It's been so good. It's been so that wasn't sarcastic. That sounded like really sarcastic.
so good.
That sounded like the most sarcastic thing, but honestly, like it has been really good. Like I think coming from LA to New York, the dating scene here, number one, I think we have to stop saying dating is trash. I think if you put out what
It's
you,
the
you get what you,
mindset.
exactly how you're like, oh, you want to say, oh my God, I'm fucking ugly. Like, let's stop putting that out there. Even if you go on a shitty date, what else are you going to talk to your friends about? That's a good story.
That's
Fair
true.
point. I've been on a lot of shitty dates, but I have great stories to tell. It's like material for a book when I read it one day, you know?
My mom literally told me when we were starting the podcast, she was like, you need to go on more dates because
Literally.
Sarah's dating someone and one of you needs to talk about dating.
One of you needs
Your
to
mom
get
is onto
into it.
something.
She really is.
I love that. But no, it's actually been really good. I feel like the lifestyle here, you just, like, I'm not really on dating apps right now. You just meet more people. Like in LA,
Yeah.
I didn't meet, I mean, I date men, so like I didn't meet men. Like my life is all women, which I love. But I'm like, I didn't come into contact with men. Like it was very strange. So I just meet people in person, and I love that because I feel like I can pick up on people's energy pretty quickly. I've also kind of been in like a little bit of a cougar era, which I think is kind
the
of
move.
Love.
I'm like, these older men like are just not like, I've dated guys who are like 22 and I've dated guys who are 42, and the 22-year-olds have impressed me more than the older guys.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like of the 42 to 22, like the 22-year-old is growing up in such a different world than the 42-year-old
Yes.
grew up in. So I could see how that's like very possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I actually, as sarcastic as that sounded, I am having a really good time.
That makes me so happy.
I saw a TikTok the other day. I forget the TikToker's name, but she talks a lot about like relationships and dating and things like that. And she had said with dating, like a mindset that I thought was really great and interesting was like, every date you go on is getting you closer to your person, like whoever that may be. And I was like, wow, that's like a really good like mindset to look at it, especially if because I know like people can find it really discouraging and like, you know, the ups and downs of it all. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or wait, so you have a boyfriend?
no, I have a partner. Their name's Olivia.
amazing.
Yes. So we've been in a relationship for almost 3 years now, but we met at summer camp when we were 12 and 13. Yeah,
Wait, this is a
adorable.
iconic love story.
I
it's
love
a
it
really
for
cute.
them.
I'm gonna say
so cute.
Audrey's like has to hear
only
this.
been from like a few weeks ago. We did like this questionnaire, and for all of them, for Sarah's, it was like, well, I would pick Olivia, and I would be like, great for you. I'm picking picking between Jackson and Riley, both terrible options. Sorry to add them.
Yeah. So I've been in. We actually last week did a podcast episode. Olivia and I did one. They came on the pod. I gave them the whole experience. We came here.
Okay, I need to listen.
Yeah, it was great, and we got to talk about like the highs and lows of being in a relationship in your 20s, because it's definitely this has been my like first like very serious relationship, my first like relationship as a queer woman, so I feel like there's been a lot of highs and lows and challenges, but yeah, I wouldn't take anything back from it. And even prior to that, I was the worst dater. Like, I am such a serial monogamous, which may be like a bad thing, but
I don't think it's a bad thing.
Yeah, I don't
never
know.
You know, I'm gonna never yuck someone's yum. Like,
Yeah,
that's not monogamy. Is your like, you know, go for it.
Yeah,
you don't need to be like dating a bunch of people. Like, that's why all these dating rules, like, you gotta keep the roster stacked, you gotta do this, you gotta do this. I'm like, I honestly
don't like talking to people enough to have a roster.
Right. It's like, do what is good for you. Like, if that works for your personality, amazing. But if it doesn't, like, don't force yourself to be like spreading yourself thin if you really value one person, one connection. Like,
yeah, I struggled with that a lot, especially because I feel like in your 20s, it's like, you should get out there and date and all these things. And I was like, you know, I haven't really had a period of my life where I was dating a lot. I've, you know, dabbled in the apps a little bit, but not seriously enough to like be a huge dater. And I was like, do I do that? That's what everybody's telling me to do. But I was like, what do I want? Like, if I'm like serious about this connection, like, why not just give this connection my all? And that's okay to want that. So it's nice to get your dating stories. That's my little piece of it.
How's dating going for you?
So I've been on a little bit of a break from dating.
I think breaks are important.
As we referenced multiple times, haven't been doing well for a few months. Didn't seem like the time to go on dates. My mom has been asking my sister and I a lot about like, hey, what's up with you two and dating? And she literally was like, have you two been coordinating with each other? Because you keep giving the same answer of just like, not really vibing with it. I feel like maybe this summer I'll get back into it, but like my life has been so up and down. It's like, I don't feel like inviting a stranger into that mess right now.
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity for it. Yeah.
I think that's great. I think that's important. Like, when people especially get into this, like, oh, dating sucks, like, it's so hard. I'm like, definitely take a break. Like, it shouldn't be like that. You know, how often do you think about meeting new friends? You're like, oh my God, like, I'm so tired of all it. Like, and I get it. You want to find people you click with. You want to find people who get you. But I think, it's very important to take a break.
Yes. So I feel like in about a month or two, I'll probably get back into it. I just like my biggest issue is I really dislike apps, but basically like I'm really in the theater community, which like majorly is gay men and straight women, which is a bad combo for me.
You're like,
bad combo.
Really the wrong people. And so it's really difficult to meet people in person. And so it's mostly on apps, but it's just like so hard to tell if you vibe with someone. Like any person I've been romantically involved with, I've known basically within like 15 seconds of meeting them, like I'm interested in them. And so like I just find like small talk on dating apps very frustrating, and I don't like it. I don't actually mind actually dating. I just hate like using the app, setting it up. I don't mind the actual dates. It's just the asking the very stupid questions over and over again, and then you get to the date and you've asked all those preamble questions, and it's like, oh God, what do we fucking talk about now? And then they ask what I'm doing, and I'm like, I have my BFA in music theater and I have a podcast. Bold choices. Yeah, that's my dating right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's
But
okay.
I'm really glad to hear someone doing well with it, because that does give me hope. Most people I ask about are like, fucking sucks.
I mean, I get it, but it's been good. I don't like, it's been, you know, overall it's been good. Everyone goes through shitty stuff, but
yeah, it has ups and downs.
Yeah.
So for our last question, we always ask guests the same last question. And it is, what is something that you have been clueless about recently? It can be big, small. Mine have been as small as like, hey, I don't really know how often you're supposed to empty your vacuum, or big of like, did I do my taxes right? Did I commit fraud? Maybe.
Maybe. Honestly, I like to live on the edge.
Look, they labeled me a low risk with the IRS, so I'm just counting on that.
Yeah.
Great.
If the IRS is listening, I did pay my taxes.
I paid some taxes. I don't know if I paid the right ones.
Fingers crossed. Okay, so the other day, I follow this girl on TikTok, Girl Boss Town. Okay.
Oh my gosh, love her.
Love her.
Love.
This is actually so embarrassing. But, you know, like Chat GBT. She
Yes.
goes by GBT,
Yes.
Girl Boss Town. So everyone who was talking about Chat GBT, I'm like, Girl Boss Town is like blowing up. Like so many people are talking about her.
That's really
I'm a fucking
funny.
idiot. And so I'm like, okay, I really need, my thing I need to learn more about is AI and like all this stuff because
same.
it's blown up so much
Literally
recently.
same.
literally I was talking to my friend about this. I'm like, we don't want to be the people who like are in a meeting and like don't know how to use an Excel document. Like we need to stay up. I'm like, okay, I need to figure out this AI shit. I'm like, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm like, I need to learn about this because I'm clueless right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I can't be one of these old people who are like, what's that? How do I work
need to
my
learn.
iPhone?
I've been reading a lot about it because of the way it intersects with the writer's strike going on right now. Because that's one of their big sort
Things.
of demands. Yeah.
Is using.
And it's probably
Is letting them use AI or
is
not?
limiting
not.
use of AI. The Writers Guild wants
Oh.
it to be limited because studios are very much trying to cut costs anywhere they can and are going to try and get rid of a lot of writers and use ChatGPT. I mean, it's an issue with SAG-AFTRA is about to start or have already started negotiating their contracts, and they're prepared to strike. And one of their reasons is also AI.
Wow.
This
See,
world
I
is
need
so
to learn about it. I need
Literally
to,
same. I'll look at our Notion and it's like use AI or like the Chat GBT. Like I was like, what the fuck is a Chat GBT?
No, I literally was
A
like,
very funny thing is there's one that's similar to like it's in the Chat GPT era, where it's like about like writing and it's supposed to be able to like write very comprehensive things with like beats and like sort of novel type stuff. And these things pull from online resources, but they're usually not open about what they're pulling from. And people have figured out that they pulled from a lot of like AO3 and fan fiction because this AI system kept mentioning the Omegaverse, which is a thing in like fan fiction and AO3 stuff that is not in the real verse, and that's how they figured out like, oh, this is pulling from fan fiction because that is a thing. The Omegaverse doesn't exist in many things, but it really exists in fan fiction, and that was embarrassing for the people who created it, and I enjoyed that greatly.
I enjoyed that greatly.
oh my gosh.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
This was
Thank
so much
you.
fun.
This was so fun. You
Yes.
are awesome.
Oh, thank
Both
you.
of you are killing it. So I'm just happy to be here.
Thank
Yay.
you.
It was
Waves.